Been waiting for this day for a long time, and I finally have a new short film coming down the pipe, and it's going to be a doozy, probably my biggest one yet. Now, right now, there's so many things to plan, so many things to figure out, that the project has frankly become very overwhelming to me. So join me in this video as we start taming this beast of a project, and I show you what the beginning of pre-production for a film looks like. Real quick, between filming this video and now posting it, there was some major news related to this project, so stick around for the end, and I'll give you all of the drama. Until then, enjoy the video. I've broken the process down into 3 key steps: gather, sort, and share. Easy to remember with the acronym GZ. And the tool I'm going to be using for this is a Millinode, which is perfect for visual thinkers like me because it just lets you organize your ideas and your plans in whatever way makes the most sense to you. Now, this isn't the only way to do this. You could use anything. A physical pen and paper would work too. I've done that in the past. The basic steps for pre-production are going to be the same no matter what tool you use. I just find this one particularly handy. So let's jump into it. So first off, I should say I'm going to show you everything about this film. I'm not going to hide anything. I'm going to tell you the full story. You're gonna see the numbers that I'm working with, and you're gonna see this thing come together in real time. This is just the beginning, right? So I'm gonna show you the pre-production now. Later, I'm gonna show you the rewrites of the script. I'm gonna show you casting and crewing up and location scouting and VFX, everything, all the way through shooting this thing, editing it, and finally, it'll just appear magically on my YouTube channel. But we have a long way to go until we get there. Here's the beginning. I've already started this board in Millinode, which is super handy. Again, I've broken it up into the way that makes the most sense for me, which is I've got a production binder over here, which has more producing-oriented things like the budget, logistics, and things that are in progress, basically my running to-do list. Then I've got a creative binder over here, where I've started building out a story binder, which has things inside it like a beat sheet, the characters, themes, and concepts, and the script itself. And that's the same for all these. You can jump into anything and see what's going on. Then in the direction section, got a mood board, and eventually I put storyboards in here. Started to put some things I'm worried about that I want to make sure I don't lose sight of when I'm actually directing this thing. Over here we have an introduction and overview of the actual film, which for now at least is called The Lost Fortune of Oliver Brody. And here's a picture of Guy Pearce that I pulled. Maybe that's Oliver Brody. Probably not. Probably won't get Guy Pearce for this. The log line: in the Alaskan gold rush, a lone prospector too far upriver must defend his fortune from outsiders and a supernatural force haunting the land. It's going to be a short film, going to be about 10 minutes long. Adventure, drama, horror, PG-13. So this is just giving you an idea. And part of the reason that I'm even making this introduction overview, and part of the reason that I'm using Millinode at all, is that this board isn't just for me. And again, last step that I talked about, share, I'm gonna be sharing this with people that I'm gonna try to get on board to the film. So not just me and my other producer, but a DP, location scouts, and also the sponsors. So is sponsoring this film, and I want to let them know what's going on here, right? So once I put all this together, I can send this to them and they're gonna know everything. And they can go into it as much detail as they want by clicking in. I've even made a little team bio here. So me and my friend Chris, we both have YouTube channels, and we've done some notable collaborations that have gone viral here. And once I get some other crew members, I'll fill that out with some cards here as well. Here's the production bird's eye view. Probably about a $25,000 budget. Part of that's coming from sponsorship. I'm actually probably gonna try to get more sponsors involved because right now I'm self-funding quite a bit of this. I'm planning on 3 shoot days. It's gonna be both on location and on a soundstage. 10 to 12 person crew, 4-person cast, plus a dog. All this is TBD, by the way. Like literally everything I'm showing you is completely subject to change because we're very early in the pre-production process. It might look like I've done a lot of work here. I have not done a lot of work. I made all of this in the span of like 2.5 hours on a flight when I was half asleep. So Millinode's very easy to work with. But I just brain dumped everything, and then I just spent like a half hour adding colors to make it look pretty. It's gonna shoot hopefully in late September. Location is TBD. I'll get into that more a little later. It's gonna involve some VFX, some practical effects, no stunts. It's gonna be released on the channel, and I'm gonna be doing multiple, making of videos along the way. Now, to follow along with this video and understand the challenges and the creative solutions that we're gonna find here and put yourself in my shoes as a producer, I think you need to know what the full story is, spoilers and all. And if you actually just wanna read the script, I'm gonna put a link to it as it stands today in the description below. But here's a bird's eye view of this story. And let me tell you, I'm so excited about this story because this has been in the works for like a dozen years. Oliver Brody is a character ripped from a feature that we wrote in college. We were talking about Oliver Brody back in our college cafeteria all the time. We've been joking about him ever since. And just like with Will the Machine, our football player short film, it's a character ripped from a feature that we wrote, and we just simplified his story as much as possible until it fit the short film format. And it took a long time to crack that code with Oliver Brody, but we finally did. So here's his story without any detail. You can find all the detail in the script, but you've got Oliver Brody panning for gold in the Alaskan wilderness in 1899, and he's a little kooky, a little paranoid, and he's there with his dog, of course, it's a golden retriever. They're set up, they're living in a tent next to the river, and it seems like all he does is pan for gold all day. And he collects his gold for the day, goes across the woods, deep through the woods, gets to a cave. Outside the cave is a booby trap with dynamite. They bypass the booby trap. He goes deep, deep, deep into this cave. It gets darker, darker. Finally, they get to an opening. He sets up his lantern, and he's got a little desk set up there. He weighs out his gold for the day, and then he transfers it into a pile of gold, his stash, the fortune of Oliver Brody. And we zoom out and we see it's not a little stash. This is a giant stash. This is a small mountain of gold that he's got in here. Doesn't even make sense. How did he even get this much gold? We don't know. And he lies down on it. He slips into an ether binge, and he's looking at this picture of his old sweetheart from back home, talking about how he's gonna bring it all back to her just a little bit more. He's just gonna bring a little bit more in, and then he's out of there. He's coming back to her. Passes out into an ether blackout. When he wakes up, he realizes the time's gotten away from him. He rushes back to the tent, through the cave, through the woods, all the way to the tent. As he gets there, something in the river is coming for him. He rushes into the tent and looks back to see it finally pop out of the water. What is it? It's an otter. Not just a normal otter, it is a very human-like otter. Creature of some kind. We'll see a flash of it, but this is the thing that he was scared of in the beginning of the film. Anyways, he gets in there, and the otter comes up to the tent entrance, doesn't enter, but it has now taken the form of a human. Actually, Oliver's father. And this thing speaks through the tent flap as Oliver's father, telling him, they've found your stash. They're coming for it right now. You have to stop them. You've made me so proud, Oliver. Don't give up now. You're so close. And Oliver doesn't believe him, but then he hears the dynamite go off in the distance, and he gets a look of murderous rage in his eyes that they're coming to take his gold that he's worked so hard for. Picks up his pickaxe, and him and the dog set out. They get back to the cave. Dust everywhere. They go in and they disappear into the black hole of the cave, deeper and deeper. Now we get to the fun part where we completely switch perspective and we go inside the cave to the people who are already in there. And they're so excited to have found the lost fortune of Oliver Brody. But we notice that they have modern cell phones and headlamps and electronics with them. They're vlogging the experience. And we're like, what the hell? And then we realize, oh my God, we're in modern day. The lost fortune of Oliver Brody was from like 100 years ago. And then we hear something coming through the cave. We hear growling. We hear a pickaxe scraping against rock. And then their headlights start going out. And then we say, oh my God, Oliver's a ghost. He's been haunting these grounds for 100 years, killing anybody that got near his gold. And then of course, we see Oliver, now a skeleton or creature or monster of some kind. We see his true form as he murders the explorers. And that's it. In its simplest terms, it's a ghost story told from the perspective of the ghosts, which you don't really realize until the end. But I love it. To me, it's got everything. It's got period film. It's got mystery and lore. It's got adventure, drama, horror. It's got two creatures. It's got so many things like epic landscapes, so many things that you just want to put on camera, and a really cool story to top it off. So I can't wait. It's like the best short film I could think to make right now, which is why I'm putting so much resources into it. It's gonna be so fun to make, and hopefully so fun to watch for all of you. But of course, so many problems, so many things to figure out. I mean, it's really friggin' hard film to make. I gotta find all these locations like the cave, exterior, interior, tent, river, woods. Got to do VFX, Otterman. I got to do creature of Oliver Brody at the end. Got to figure out there's going to be like a 20-foot totem pole. I think I'm going to have to use like miniatures and composite that in and find people who know how to do that stuff. It's a period film, so there's got to be period accurate. There's got to be historical accuracy. I mean, there's a lot going into it. There's a lot of problems, a lot of things to figure out. And honestly, at a $25,000 budget, even though that sounds like a ton of money, the way that I'm trying to do it, which is at a pretty high level, it's going to be very difficult. And I'm going to have to use a lot of favors and a lot of creative solutions to get this done the way I want to get it done at the level of quality that I'm shooting for at that budget. Which is why careful pre-production and setting this all up in Milanote the way I'm doing here, making it pretty, making it presentable, making it easy to consume, it's gonna be so handy because then I can share it with the right people, get them on board, get them on the right page, and we can all collaborate much more effectively and bring this thing to life without wasting time and money. All right, so let's get to work here. I've already done a little bit of work, but like I said, I have not put that much time into this yet. First thing we need to do is gather resources, references, everything that we can think of that might help us figure out what this movie is going to be and how we're going to put it together. So in this direction board here, probably the most logical place to start is with this mood board that I've created. And you know, the great thing about Milanote is you can use their templates to start these. So I've done that here, and then you just start moving things around. You know, any picture that you find online, you can just throw in here, and then I just create a little text notes here for, you know, historical archival pictures, and you can zoom in and start moving around. If you hold space and click, you can click and drag around. So here's some potential images of people, like any of these could be Oliver Brody. Which one of these guys lost his fortune? Maybe this guy right here. I don't know. Probably more like that guy. Maybe a little too old though. Anyways. And then just some pictures that I pulled from, I believe, frameset.app. There's also Shot Deck. There's plenty of websites like this where you can just type in, you know, gold prospector, and you'll find a bunch of images, and some of them might be good references for the film. Like I've already pulled that one. This guy's pretty cool. I like the landscape, the lighting, the beard. And since I don't have a membership to this website, I didn't pay for that, I can still use it, fortunately, just by right-clicking and going to Save to Milanote, because I've got their web clipper. And if I just click, we want that to be in our mood board. Save to mood board, now I've got that. Oh, this guy's got a dog, which is great. Let's save that one as well. This one's great. I don't know if I have that yet. Definitely gonna want that. Anything that just feels like, oh yeah, that could be in the film. That's basically all I'm looking for right now. What else? That's pretty cool. Wouldn't mind an overhead shot. It's from Django. Anything that is just visually striking. Like, what do I want? Ooh, cave stuff. We have a lot of cave stuff, so we're gonna want that. And this just goes on. And then of course, once I'm out of gold prospector stuff, yeah, maybe I want some more cave images. And here's a great cave shot. Here's a great cave shot. This one looks like something that could definitely be in the film. And just to show you what the templates look like with Milanote, you know, I started this storyboard board, which is still pending because it's way too early to be doing storyboards right now. But I can just choose a template like their film storyboard template, and it just sets up a template for you like that. Or, you know, this is what the film mood board looks like when you start it. It gives you some structure that you can work with. Same with general pre-production board. Mine's a little more complex than this, and I wanted to do it my own way, so I might have started with this and then just completely changed things around. But they even got like weekly plans, shot lists. I actually like the shot list format a lot. Might end up using that. But still, too early to be getting that much in the weeds with the direction, so we've got bigger fish to fry right now. Let's look at our production binder now. In progress is kind of the most important thing for gathering right now, because this tells you what you actually need to do. And I like to have this set up first because this is my brain dump. I need to be able to have a place where I can just throw out every idea of like, okay, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. And then once it's written down, you don't have to carry the mental weight of remembering that. You know that it's there. You know that as long as it's in this list, then eventually it will get like done, or at least scheduled, or hopefully in progress, and finally done. and you can just keep track of all your stuff. There's so many things to get done, so let me just task dump a few more things in here just by double clicking. Gotta finalize the script. I've gotta plan out making of YouTube videos. That is kind of a part of this. Thinking about finding additional sponsors, that's a big one. And so yeah, that's the idea here. And the great thing about Milanote too is I can pull it up on my phone, and now I have a place where I can just pull this exact board up on my phone and just dump all my to-dos in there as I think of them. That's the important thing. Don't wait. Throw it in there immediately, right when you think of it, and then you can let it go and start to relax a little bit. That's what makes the project less overwhelming to me. The reason I like to separate these steps is that each of them uses a completely different part of my brain, so I don't even want to think about organizing all of the images I've pulled and the research and the ideas I'm discovering while I'm in that gather phase. I just want to be in that exploration, creative, open mindset. After that, then I can turn that part of my brain off and turn on the more robotic part of my brain that just loves organizing things and creating systems and problem solving. And I don't necessarily want to be creative. I just want to take that opportunity to play intense music loudly, get caffeinated, and turn on Do Not Disturb. And if I do those three things, then I might be able to slip into a 2-hour flow state, disassociating from this mortal coil we inhabit and just jamming through all this work. So let's see how it goes. So once you've pulled these images, you just go into here and you see how they're already right here on the side. If I just zoom out, got my little cave section that I've created down here. Let's throw some of these cave images in, and then you just click and drag like that. Easy. So yeah, you can see how our board is starting to come together. We've got our different sets here, the cave, the river, the tent, and just some general stuff. We got our main character, and we'll probably need to pull some more historical reference images. And if I want to create a new board, I can just right click in here and do something like, historical research. Throw that up here. It gives me an image already, which is pretty cool, and honestly looks pretty good, but I can change this icon to be like, a book. That'll do the job. And if I click in, I can look at all their templates here. If I go to research, what does that look like? That's great. So I can use that template, and I can go to any website like this Klondike Gold Rush from the National Park Service, this informational article. Let's say I like that one, clip it to Milanote just like I did with the images, throw it in historical research, do the same thing here. And I went on a rabbit hole a little while ago, and I should have been saving this stuff as I did it, but there was stuff about the Native American tribes here that was very useful, so I go into here. Definitely want to research these tribes further. And there was also a great YouTube documentary that I know I'm going to reference again, Klondike Gold Rush. I believe this was the one. This thing was great. Yep. So let's definitely clip this video and save it to our historical research tab. And let's just start dumping this stuff in. Now, right now, I don't really have anything to just dump in except for all this raw material. So I'm going to get rid of the template and just start throwing this stuff in here, getting rid of the captions as I go. All right, so we got our start to our historical research board. Now we also have a logistics board. Let's jump in there. Right now it's pretty bare bones because there's so much I have to figure out before I can even get into the logistics. But here's generally what we're looking at. We've got shoot date late September. Locations are a cave interior, and I found a cave set in Utah that I might end up shooting in, which means maybe the whole film should be shot in Utah. There's a number of reasons I want to shoot this in a set on a soundstage and not in an actual cave. If you read the script, you'll probably understand there's just a lot going on in the cave, and shooting in an actual cave is going to be kind of a nightmare. There's also a cave exterior that we have to shoot at 2 different times a day, and there's some potential options here, but maybe we can shoot the whole film in Utah and find a cave exterior there. You have a tent interior, which can be built on the cave soundstage very easily, and then you would do the tent exterior on the river location, which is actually probably the easiest location to find, and then a woods exterior as well, also pretty easy. So it could be California, it could be Utah, maybe Lake Tahoe has a lot of good looking stuff. Gonna be too expensive to actually get up to Alaska, but it takes place in the summer in Alaska, and I think there's a lot of places on the West Coast that can double for that. You know, mountains in the distance, river, trees, kind of looks like Alaska, right? So when the time comes, you know, we'll add some more stuff here. If I add a column and say, you know, location options, and then I can add a board inside the column like this, and I could create a new board for each location. So cave could have its own board, and then I'd have a new board for river, new board for woods, and a board for actually cave exterior. And this is actually going to be a pretty convenient way to do this. That way I can, inside each of these boards, I can do a link to each of the locations. So got this right here. If I save this to saved cave, boom. Then I can go into cave, and I've got this. That is the only cave that I found right now. There's got to be a cave set in Los Angeles somewhere though. I'm hoping to find one. And then I'll do the same thing with the river, cave exterior, and woods locations. I'm gonna change these icons a little bit. Is there anything that looks like a cave? Cave exterior. There you go. River and the woods. Pretty cool, huh? I love how pretty it all is. Great. So once I actually have options for these locations, then I'll dump them all in here. And then when I'm having meetings and calls with my other producer or other producers, once I bring on more producers maybe, we'll be able to jump in here and look at all of our different cave options. So we are building the foundations here. And we even make call sheets in here, which they do have a template for. Look at that. So how handy to just send this to your crew, at least your core crew, and have everybody be aware of what's going on. Or if you wanted a proper, more traditional call sheet, then you could create this kind of quickly and easily in here and give it to your first AD, and they could translate that into like a printable call sheet that they could give to everybody. But this would be a great starting point and something that you can visually reference and see what the plan for the day is. And then we've got our budget tab, and this is just totally made up numbers right now. But once I actually start figuring out the logistics of this, like I can't even make the budget right now because there's so many things I don't know. I don't know where I'm shooting this. I don't know exactly who my crew is yet, although I've got some ideas. So I can't do anything, but you can see even with these numbers that I've started to throw in here, how quickly things start to add up. So you gotta be careful. This thing might end up being so expensive. Let's say it was $300 for a first AC and I needed them for 3 days, $900. And this just works the same as like Google Sheets or Excel. You know, you can do a sum formula, pretty simple. Yeah, this will be a great way to kind of keep track of the budget as it starts ballooning, potentially out of control. We'll be aware of that here and we can start cutting back and figuring out, do we not have room for the dog in the budget? Do we have to lose the dog? I hope not. What breed is the dog, by the way? Golden Retriever. That's right. Gold Prospector has a Golden Retriever. Now in the story section, I'm still building out some stuff here. I've got the exported version of the script so that anybody could open that up and print it out if they needed to. And then for me and my co-writer, I've got the editable script. So if I jump into here, it opens it up in Writer Duet and we can make changes to it. There's also some things that I'm working on. I've got a beat sheet, which I started with their template. This is more for a feature film like It's not necessarily going to have a perfect 3-act structure like this. Opening image is Oliver Brody panning in the water, surrounded by epic landscape from a voyeuristic POV of a river spirit. And yes, there is a river spirit. So then I would just start doing the next thing, like next story beat was be, hears noise in the woods, looks up scared, runs out of water to tent, etc., etc. And it's a helpful way to just get a bird's eye view of the whole story, like that. I could even move these around and see how the arrows stay together. Similarly, I've got themes and concepts here. So I would say the main themes of this story are greed, addiction, sacrifice, and legacy. These are the things that Oliver Brody is struggling with or obsessed with and being consumed by. So right now this is blank. What I'm thinking is I'm going to start adding things into here as references. For example, greed, just having a list of like references of films and books might be handy. So like obviously Treasure of Sierra Madre is one. There Will Be Blood is a great one. And just going on and on there with anything that I think of. And then I've got a character board. And here's our characters in our story. We have Oliver Brody, we have his dog, and we have antagonists. We have the river spirit, which, yes, there is a river spirit, and yes, it is an otter man. It is a shape-shifting otter, part of Native American folklore called Kushtaka. And this is another thing that I'm gonna have to consult with a VFX artist on how much of this can and should we show to get the most bang for our buck, to make it look good. And you don't wanna like show the whole thing and make it too cheesy or weird. So it's probably gonna be suggestions of this otter man. But he's a shapeshifter, so he doesn't stay otter man for very long. Oliver Brody already has some references. Now this is a template. This is not Oliver Brody. This is the Milanote template, but I'm going to actually use this and change all this to reflect what Oliver Brody's story is. Normally I wouldn't do this for a short film. I would feel like this is too much backstory to even be necessary for a character for a short film. But because this character is from a feature film, just like Will the Machine, it's actually important that we just communicate this character's backstory to the actor that's going to be playing him, and to people like the production designer who's going to have to create the sets that we're working in, like his tent and what's inside the cave. Because the more they know about this character's backstory and the more that we're all on the same page, the more detail and specificity they're going to be able to bring to it, even if it's never explicitly said in the film, like what was going on with Oliver before all this takes place. It's really important that we're all on the same page so that any of those details become clues for the audience to figure out as they're watching the film. All right, as you can see, it's nighttime now. I was just jamming away on cold brew and EDM music to get this filled out, sorted out, and it's looking really good. If I walk you through it, in the story section, I've got an entire beat sheet now that is just beautiful. And part of the beauty of actually doing thorough pre-production and making things pretty is that this helped me visualize the story so much more than just the script that I had before. And it made me realize like opportunities here. I was texting Chris, my co-writer, the whole way through after I finished making this. It's like, you know what? We have opportunities here that we're not taking advantage of. Look, he passes out in the middle of the movie. We should put a little dream sequence in here. So I added this card, and that gives us an opportunity to set up the Otter Man later on and just add some more abstract, cool visuals to it. We've got a full-on character profile for Oliver Brody. Whoever plays Oliver, I'm definitely going to share this with and have some long conversations with them about that page. we've got a whole map of some themes and concepts, and this can get built out more and more. I mean, everything that's here is a starting point, right? This is not the end of the process. And then in the direction section, got a list so I can start adding random ideas. The mood board is still coming together. Same with the historical research. This is going to be added on a lot. It's not just going to be Wikipedia articles. Don't worry about that. The budget, I now have notes here. I've gotten rid of all the numbers because it's useless right now. And there's so many things that are going to completely change the way the budget shapes up. But I need to be able to show producers and stuff, the sponsors, why the budget is blank right now. So that's what this note is for. And then I've got this whole logistics page that kind of lays out some of the bigger challenges and concerns that we have here with the production design, VFX, BTS, makeup. We got an animal, we got camera gear, and then we've got all the locations here too. We've got information about the locations that we still need to find, what the requirements are, whether we're worried about it, not worried about it. Yeah, it's looking really good. The progress section, this is going to be updated the most. I'll tell you one thing though, create pre-pro boards in Milanote. That has been on my list for quite a while, and now we can make that a priority, which I will be doing with things by making them red. Those are going to be our priorities. So now I can take this priority board all the way over here, and I loved to do that. This has been my first time prepping a film with Milanote, but I'm really loving it so far. And by the way, if you want to try out Milanote, try it out for free with no time limit. Just sign up using the link in my description and start prepping your next film this way today. It's kind of fun. I recommend it. So lots of stuff I need to add here, lots of stuff I need to fill out, delegate, schedule, and get done. But for now, I need to get on this one that's still in progress, which is producer outreach. So that brings us to stage 3 of the process, share. Now, part of the reason I chose Milanote to do all this was I was killing multiple birds with one stone. The great benefit of Milanote for a collaborative project like this film is that I can really easily take all the work that I need, that I'm going to be using to organize this next 2 months of working on this project, and then share it with other people and make it really presentable and kind of fun to dig in and look around through. So hopefully this will make more people want to get on board the project, right? And it's as easy as just clicking the share button, and then you can add an editor, send them an invite, or just send them a link, and then they can get a free Milanote account, jump in, start making changes. So that's great for producers, DP, what have you. Or I can send them a read-only link and they don't even need to sign up. So that's great for sending it to potential sponsors or people that I'm first trying to, recruit onto this project. So I'll just go ahead and copy this link, and I've got a password, and that's it. Then I'll just email it out to the next producer I'm trying to reach out to. And that's really why I made everything so pretty, because if it was just for me, I probably wouldn't go as in depth with color coding and making everything nice and even, but it makes it way easier to try to find people to partner with on the project when I can send them something and it looks really nice, really easy to immediately understand everything, click through. It's like pretty enough that you want to keep clicking through. And I think it's so much more attractive of a project than if I just sent them an email with the script attached, because one, they get to understand so much more about the project, the tone, the style, the logistics right off the bat, and that's just going to save a ton of back and forth and make their decision to join or pass on it way easier. And two, it shows the kind of attention to detail that I'm hopefully going to be bringing to the entire project, and that'll hopefully woo them over and make them think, wow, if the production's going to be as organized and thoughtful as this pre-production board, then the odds of this being a total show production are pretty slim. And hopefully this will be run professionally and might actually be a great experience for me. So this was way longer than I thought it was going to be, but this was a peek into the beginning of pre-production for a pretty big film project. And I'm so excited to continue documenting the making of this film. This is actually kind of the project that I was hoping to get to when I started doing these videos on the channel, a big, beefy, short film that I could document from beginning to end, essentially in real time, and just bring you along for the ride of making this thing where I have no idea what's going to happen. There's a lot of huge problems. And by the way, if you have solutions for any of these logistical issues, then please let me know, reach out to me over email, but this thing might fall apart. I have no idea. But if it does, then you'll be along for that ride. And then you'll get video number 4 where, the film's not going to happen because so-and-so happened. That's just part of the fun. And honestly, that might be the most useful video out of the whole series. Hey, sometimes life happens. I might have to put this whole series on hold for another year and wait till next year to shoot this thing. I don't know. But as you can probably tell, I'm so excited about this film. I've been dreaming about making this film for so long, and we just couldn't figure it out. We finally figured out the story, finally got a way to put that kind of a budget together. And there's still going to be tons of challenges, tons of favors I'm going to have to call, tons of things that I don't even understand how to do right now. But I know that if I get the right team on board, put in the work on prep like this, then we're going to knock the thing out of the park. And the film is going to be released for free right here on the channel. So just stay tuned for everything. Join my weekly newsletter, Friday Film Notes, if you haven't, for more updates on this film as it comes together, on top of these videos that I'm going to be putting on the channel, as well as, of course, exclusive freebies, discounts, and filmmaking insights from yours truly. A lot more to come. Welcome to the beginning of The Lost Fortune of Oliver Brody. Pretty funny, I'm going through the edit here and I see myself saying, hey, 4 videos from now, this whole film might just fall apart and that'll be really useful. Well, guess what? Didn't take 4 videos, didn't even take 1 video. After filming this thing and putting it together, I heard back from the sponsor and they had to pull their funding, pull their sponsorship, at least for the time being, which is obviously a huge roadblock. Very disappointing. I was starting to actually bring people onto the project, reach out to locations. This thing was finally moving after a lot of work behind the scenes. So I had to put a stop to it right now. Very sad. But again, this is very useful. I thought about scrapping this whole video after that. I was like, well, that's embarrassing. I just talked about how excited I was to make this thing and how I was about to make it. And then immediately it fell apart. But that's the way it goes. And I'm not going to put this film, I'm not going to take it out behind the barn like Old Yeller. There's still a very good chance that this thing will come together. Maybe next quarter, and to the sponsor's credit, it's not like they didn't believe in the film or want to sponsor it. It's just like a business thing, a timing thing. It's really beyond our control and they're still interested in doing it. It's just, it would have to wait at least till next quarter, if not sometime next year. So, hey, I don't mind waiting. I've waited 12 years with this story in my back pocket. So I'll do it next year. I don't care. Eventually, I'm confident that it'll get made. I'm really excited about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to move on. I'm going to do something else that's very important to be able to do as a filmmaker, which is creatively pivot when you're just running into a brick wall, which I think is what's happening here. And fortunately, I've got some other projects in my back pocket that are much cheaper to make, much easier to produce. And I'm not going to just not make anything. I'm going to go make one of those films. And then if this film comes back together, and to be honest, it's not just the funding, there's multiple aspects of the sponsor being involved that make this Oliver Brody project more attractive to make right now. But since that's gone for now, the project is not the one that I want to do right now. So I'm going to make one of these other smaller films and I'll document that too. I'll put it on the channel too. They'll be really good. You'll love it. I won't document it as thoroughly as I would for this much bigger short film because I don't think that's as necessary for a really small project, but I'll make something good. I'll have a lot of fun. I'll put it out there for you. And hopefully later this year or next year, I can do part 2 of this series on the lost fortune of Oliver Brody, which is now my lost fortune, is making this movie. Oh well. Thanks for watching, and we'll see what happens.